Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a packed, busy, eventful, just a bunch of things happening all at once, house divided here on Orange Buzz Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We've got opening day of spring football. We've got Shawn Miller's introductory press conference. We've got Aaliyah Chavez making her announcement in less than an hour. We've got women's basketball. It's nonstop. So it should be a fun show. Like, comment, subscribe to the page. Today turns out to be one of the busier days of the year, and we slide in right between Shawn Miller press conference and NFL Pro Day for all of the Longhorns in the draft, of which there's a lot of them. So busy day. Also, spring football day one earlier today. Chad, as people file into the specs chat, and by all means, chat away. Send us some super chats. We do love those. Let's start with Shawn Miller first. And maybe we'll get that out of the way. Jason Sucomel will join us in about 15 minutes. So we will be heavy spring football. But the Shawn Miller press conference did just end. Your initial impression?
I thought he did a pretty good job. Always, he looks the part, and that's always a key element of it. Thought he won the press conference overall. No big sort of issues. Noteworthy that Chris Del Conte mentioned the Arizona stuff as a bump in the road, and then no question got asked about it. If that was what he intended to do, well done for CDC. Because Shawn Miller spent a ton of time talking about Xavier and never mentioned his time at Arizona for pretty obvious reasons. And then the last thing that stood out to me, Ketch, was the questions he got about NIL, his discussions about it, and the fact that, he mentioned Xavier's never had a McDonald's All-American. He's in a new world now, which made me think of guys like Shaka Smart, where in one part of college basketball, you can do certain things. When you come to this part of college basketball, can you do it at that level? Those are the things that kind of stood out to me. How about you?
I don't know if anything stood out to me. It's funny. You said he won the press conference, and I don't know that I disagree. I've got to change one of my buy or sell questions, because it's literally the question is Shawn Miller won today's press conference. And so it was first words out of your mouth. So I can't do that. It was fine. The thing I think that I took away from that is Shawn Miller he's an old school basketball coach's basketball coach. He kind of reminds me of, he's like Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys. And if you hire Mike McCarthy now, you're kind of hiring him off of what he did 10 years ago. He is, I think, I always thought Mike McCarthy was kind of charming behind the microphone. I never was embarrassed, really. McCarthy was fine. McCarthy was never the problem in Dallas. He was just never the solution. But I always felt like he was competent. And I can remember on his opening press conference with the Cowboys, you'll remember this, Chad, one of the things that he mentioned was that, hey, it's a new age in the NFL, and I've got to buy into analytics and just can't be the old school coach that ignores them. There's a little bit of that from Shawn Miller today. He mentioned that essentially his general manager hire would be as important as anything that he does. Kind of interesting, given the conversations we've had about that with other sport in recent weeks.
Mm-hmm. He was asked a combo general manager NIL question. I thought that was a well-packaged bunch of kind of in college basketball. That was a heavy question.
And he stressed that's a big one. And he was like, I'm not gonna rush into anything that we do, even if we don't have time. But that will. And he was like, in this era of college basketball, that's a huge that will make or break us. And I was like, oh, okay. So whoever that is, note that for the record, that he's a really important person in ways I don't know that we've seen a head basketball coach at Texas quite do. He didn't really engage in NIL other than to say, I'm not used to coaching at a place where NIL is a thing at all, which we knew had to have been a big – if you're trying to get Billy Donovan and you're telling him we're not competing with Kentucky, he may just say, well, how about I wait for the job that is ready to compete with Kentucky?
Yeah.
But if you're hiring a guy that's at a small Jesuit school in Cincinnati and doesn't have a real NIL budget, and you're going to a school that's going to give you millions to play with, and that you've just got to figure out a way to manage after shopping at the Dollar Tree your entire life. Here's a pile of money. Don't go too crazy. He seems okay with it. He said, we'll have what we need, but he never got into, I've been made, they've committed to me this.
Right.
And I don't know.
I thought about you when when he answered the NIL question, and it was like, I'm not worried at all. This is the University of Texas. And I thought, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying, but do you know exactly what you're saying? And then he went on to say, without NIL, you can only go so far. And I just wondered, what are the numbers in your head, Coach, as you're saying that? And can they ultimately get those numbers for you at Texas?
Well, there's a general feeling, Chad, because I've heard this in the last 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
If you win, the NIL money will come.
Okay.
That is the theory that I think exists across every school and every program, period. There's this belief. It's like, if you build it, they will come. It's very romantic, right? Hey, yeah. All you got to do is win. It's like Louis Anderson and Coming to America. Next year, I'll be on Fries. And that's when the big bucks start rolling in. Mm-hmm. That has not proven to be the case for Texas football. Texas football is winning. They've been to back-to-back Final Fours. They won the last Big 12. They competed in the SEC championship game in year one. And the thought process in the way of NIL was, when that happens, all these wealthy dudes are going to be tripping over themselves to give money because right. Isn't winning great. And in reality, that has not happened at all. The same 3 or 4 guys that were doing all of the heavy lifting in NIL 2 years ago are still doing all the NIL lifting 2 years later. And the if we build it, they will come mantra has proven to not be correct at this point. In fact, you wonder if it's going to take what happened at LSU for more people to get involved. Like, will there need to be a scare moment where, well, we're no longer getting the guys that we want to get? Because I think a lot of Texas alums are like, I'm not down for giving that money, and we're still winning anyway, so what do they need my money for?
Right.
But in men's basketball, you know, if they've had a hard time getting money for for football, the idea of it's Texas and we'll have it because it's Texas, careful. I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm just pointing out that is exactly what was said about Texas football. And at least at this moment, you're not seeing that. And Texas isn't built like an Oregon or a Nebraska or or even a Michigan, where it's kind of like blank check, send me the bill at the end of the year, and whatever it is whatever it is. And like, let there be fundraising, and we'll split wherever we have to split. That is not the way Texas is operated. And so, yeah, it was a little curious. I don't know what it means. I wonder, though, how long it will either be before it is a discussion point of some variety. What does it look like when this year's roster is built? And how is it framed based on how the team has success or doesn't have success in year one? At what point? Because I think what we eventually get is, if there's not enough money, I think we'll get to a point where it gets mentioned that I think coaches will have no choice but to say, hey, man, don't expect us to out Kentucky or Kansas on an annual basis when we're not investing in, because I think that's the way that you get your infrastructure. That's how you get more NIL contributions, is to shame donors. And we've seen it recently at LSU. What did it take for LSU to get an injection on the football side of money, 3 times as much money this year than we've seen in the last 3 years combined? It took them losing out on Bryce Underwood. And then LSU fans were, are we freaking poor? And it was like, yes, actually. LSU football on the NIL side is poor. You mean like Baylor poor? No, like Baylor looks down on LSU poor. And they got shamed. And what happened? They gave money. And now LSU's out in recruiting, making it rain. Strategically, maybe a mistake in doing so. All of it really interesting. It will continue the discussion. But Chad, is that Anwar I see, or is that Sukuma?
It is Anwar. Anwar's ready to check in with us. We will do that. We'll set that up. Let's hear from Specs, and then we will get Anwar in all set up.
Full-fledged football coming.
Here we go. Spring football talk, all kinds of stuff on the way.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time, especially if you like saving money. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget with a Texas-sized selection of world-class wines, rare spirits, craft beers, and more. So when you're getting ready for a good time, Specs is ready to make it great. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shout Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you, cheers to saving.
All right, and there he is, Anwar Richardson of Orange Bloods. He was down there at the 40 today because they started spring football officially for 2025. Anwar, great to see you as always. Before we jump into football, do you have any comment on Shawn Miller press conference? Anything on the basketball side before we talk football?
I did. I listened to his press conference as I was driving home. I sure hope he has more personality in the living rooms of recruits when he starts to talk, because he's very monotone to me. And I'm hoping that there's another side of him that's more charismatic, that is more engaging. I kind of was bored, to be quite honest with you. I was bored throughout most of the press conference. And I wanted to be more. And the difference was when Sark got hired and he had his press conference, I was kind of pumped. Like, I was like, okay, I feel you, man. All right, I feel this energy here. I got you. I know where you're at. And it's just like, I don't know. I was so bored the whole time.
And let me know he's a damn good basketball coach, because he ain't winning press conferences.
He ain't gonna win no press conference. Now here's the deal. And he admitted
this. Right? He won the press conference, and I did not push back too hard on that.
Chad said he won the press conference.
Yeah, I think in the end, I always say Sark needs to be effectively boring. It's interesting Anwar brought up the word boring. I would argue Shawn Miller did that part. Maybe it's not winning the press conference. He just didn't step into any large, chasms. And that is the
introductory press conference.
Correct. Like this is like the ultimate, like, there's nothing to step in, right? There's nothing to step in.
Well, he did have the Arizona stuff onward, never came up.
Well,
if that had come up, in theory, you could say there would have been something he could have stepped in.
That would have never come up, because they don't want to get a phone call from someone in the athletic office saying, "Why did you do that on our introductory press conference?" Blah blah blah. So
what would have been the reaction on where I've said, "Coach, do you find that you have a hard time finding assistant coaches these days?"
And the thing is, this to me is a press conference where you've galvanized the troops. And everyone's like, hell yeah, like, that's the guy I want to go see. Now when you say we're going to play a really exciting brand of basketball, one that everyone's going to want to see.
It wasn't that dry. Come on.
The fans are going to want to see it. The players are going to want to play it. It's going to be so exciting. I'm like, is it? I've done a new thing over the last 4 years when I've gone more up tempo, and I think it's a style that everyone likes. Wow. Like, is it? Is it a style? I don't know. So all I know is, look, at the end of the day, today doesn't matter. What matters is the first thing he's got to do. He's got to go into the living rooms, catch. He talked about the talent in the Dallas and the Houston area and all that kind of stuff. And all that's true, right? But then he also talked about recruiting around the world, right? So I didn't, there's just apparently you just recruit everywhere, which is fine. He's got to win some recruits, man. Like, he's got to get some guys that are on the hook, that are potentially on the hook that you guys can't let go. There's some guys in the state. Trevor Goosby's brother, Austin Goosby, over in Melissa, Texas, I think is ranked as like the #1 recruit in the state of Texas at this moment. If not, he's top 2. You check. I know Ketch is going to check it. That's a guy.
I feel like Shawn Miller has a reputation when he was at Arizona for being I don't remember it ever being an issue that he couldn't recruit. So I feel like he's going to recruit. I don't have any reservations about that. My reservations are, it's just been a long time since he's really achieved any real write home about success. And I do have questions. Anwar, the thing I always loved the most about Chris Beard was that in this new age of the NIL and the portal, which is a new thing, this is not, Nick Saban really never lived this era. Like, he's out before it becomes the new wave. Chris Beard arrived at the right moment where NIL is about to come in, and he was already known as the portal guy. So very modern, contemporary approach to building programs every year. And by the way, we see Jason Sukumel. We'll bring him in. Why don't we go ahead and bring him in, Jason? I don't want him sitting around forever. But
I was going to say,
I do wonder, I did come away from that hearing him say, my general manager hire is going to be critical. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. But he still has to prove that he can do that in this new world order. I think he would probably say, I've been doing it to some degree in this new world order without any NIL money. So give me some and I'll be good. But, I don't think people realize how difficult of a job it is. And I think people are talking about Final Fours on his opening day. That question got asked multiple times. And it just like, well, hey, you've been to 116 in the last 15 years. Maybe baby steps and then go from there.
Well, the thing is, Catch, this is where I'm cautious, but for a different reason, right? Because he said it. He goes, at Xavier, we didn't get any McDonald's All-Americans. Well, guess what? You're expected to get at Texas, McDonald's All-Americans. And you know what? Shaka Smart had a lot of success at a program where he wasn't necessarily expected to coach a bunch of one and dones, and clearly he's done it previously, right? But he wasn't expected.
He's got Shaka PTSD.
Shaka was like, and you thought to yourself, well, if he did it there, well, what can he do here when he gets all kinds of talent that's here? And Shaka sure got a bunch of one and done guys, and the damn team was one and done. And whenever they did make the play, the postseason. So my only thing is, now that you're talking about the NIL era, and you're talking about a different generation of guys who have agents, who have to get motivated, like all these kind of things, and you got to manage this generation with these kind of salaries, all that, and then blend that into a team. Can you do that? That to me remains to be seen.
Yep. All right. Today was the day of the Shawn Miller press conference, also the first day of spring practice. Catch, on an earlier show, we got to talk to Alex a little bit. He obviously was over there, and these two guys were too. Where do you want to go here?
Well, Jason, we'll go to you first. And Anwar, same question though. Day one, if the biggest Orange Blood subscribers fan in the world meets you on the elevator and you guys are only sharing it for 30 seconds up to the 4th floor, what are you telling him about today's practice that for you is the big takeaway from this morning, if there is such a thing?
Well, you got to start with Arch, right? You can't. I mean, I saw Anwar Short. You can't not talk about the first practice and not talk about Arch. And I put some notes on the board with my photos. I'm like, hey, it's one practice. I'm not going overboard, but I think Anwar maybe kind of wrote the same thing. I mean, Arch was on point today, dude. I mean, it's 20 minutes roughly of one practice, but I mean, I didn't see him miss a throw, I don't think. And I mean, everything was hitting guys in stride. I thought Arch was really good. I thought KJ was good. You know, I saw him miss a couple where he overshot a couple guys. And then some first practice jitters maybe for KJ, maybe for the wide receivers. There were a lot of drops. I say that my first takeaway, though, Catch, and it's not the sexiest, was seeing Dwayne Aquina gave me flashbacks to 20 years ago when you and I used to go to spring practice and every moment of every practice was available. He's 68 years old, dude. He hasn't changed a bit. He's
changed. I saw the photo and I was like, wow. Dwayne,
honestly,
I
not
remember
that
when
much.
he was a baby, Jason. He was a baby.
Yeah, he was like 50 back then almost. That was not a baby. So, I mean, but like still he's running around. Catch, remember going to these practice and he's yelling. He's got that big smile and he's waving his arms all around. That's the exact same Dwayne Aquina I saw them from the moment I walked into practice. I'm like, oh shit, that guy's got 68. He's still got a ton of energy. So, yeah, good to see you, Coach Aquina, back out there. And in my eyes, man, he hadn't changed much at all.
Interesting. Anwar, what stood out for you today?
Me?
No.
Okay. Was that all of us or just me?
No, you're back.
I think it may have been a little flip. You hear me now, Anwar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Great.
All right. I'll try. We'll try for 5 more seconds. If not, I'll do a reset.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I just asked you what stood out to you today.
I mean, those two things, obviously, both with Jason. It's funny. I had those in my notes as well. The Arch factor, because this is really, if you think about it, this is the first time in 3 seasons that Quinn hasn't been back there. And so, this was kind of a new era of ushering in the Arch era where there's no Quinn Ewers to be found. And so I kind of was looking, a little bit. Now, look, Quinn, Jason can tell you, it ain't like Quinn talked a whole lot when he was ever out there. So it's not like the Sam Ehlinger commanding presence and you saying like, who's going to be the next vocal leader? That was never what Quinn was, but it was good to see Arch. I know you mentioned KJ. I thought Trey Owens throws a damn good ball out there. I mean, it's effortlessly for him. It's impressive. It's very, very impressive. And last year I started coming, kind of did a 180 on it because I always shoulder shrugged the commitment at the time. But I think he's a fantastic player. And so I really like what I saw from really all the quarterbacks. And I know you said KJ was a little, freshman, a couple little things here, a couple passes that he may have missed. Freshman with some drop balls. So I don't want to say too much about it because then Catch Sark would say, see, you guys come out to practice. You talk about guys dropping balls, right? So I didn't want to give it too much.
That's the reason why we don't get access. So
yeah,
move along. Let's just talk. No drop passes. That's like the 5,000 pound gorilla.
No, actually, guys actually would put the ball in their hands and decide to put it on the ground just as part of like nature or something like that. It was just a drill. So it was no drops, just putting the batted balls from receivers.
Hey, Anwar's combine season. They were just practicing for the gauntlet. You know what I mean?
Cross training. Those guys, you never
Just
know when
boom,
you might have
boom.
to play DB some.
We'll practice for nothing wrong with that.
I thought Jordan Washington was a guy that Jeff Banks seemed to like a lot when he was out there. I think Jason, if I'm correct, was he getting first team reps at tight ends, at least in the drills? We didn't see a lot of team portion.
When I walked past the tight ends, yeah, he was the first one up, but I didn't spend a ton of time there. But I think he was on more, and he's a lot bigger. Like
268, Jason. I went back, Chad. I looked at it. I thought it said 268, and then I was like, no, my eyes are bad. It's 250. It's 268.
Yeah, like I remember him as being almost looking like a big-bodied wide receiver in high school, right? And now as I saw him today, I was like, damn. You know, Omar, in maybe we might have been standing within each earshot of each other. I heard Banks praise him, and then I also heard him praise true freshman Amari Winston. I was like, oh, okay. And that caught my eye. One other thing that I should have mentioned, Catch, we put it in the Truth and Lies column on Thursday, like, hey, we're hearing Parker Livingston might be a starter on this team. And he was getting first-team reps on the other side of the field from Ryan Wingate today. So, you know, we'll see what that means long-term. But, I mean, he's got a shot to earn that spot for sure.
Guys, one of my first takeaways was looking at Alex's receiver setup for day one. And it was hard not to think that they need a transfer or two to come in. That Dalen McCutcheon, all it took was DeAndre Moore not being available, and then it's McCutcheon and walk-ons at the slot. I will never understand what Ryan Niblett is doing in a million years. And then, you know, Livingstone, I think, has a chance to be a really good player, but he's wildly unproven. It's the opposite of what we know Sark wants at the wide receiver position based on what they've done the last few seasons, where they've set the bar for what the expectations are to be a starting wide receiver on this team. So they looked really young, really inexperienced, and really in need. I thought, just looking at the names today and how they were lined up, I'll be shocked if there's not at least one portal wide receiver addition.
That is the plan from what I've been told. They will take at least one. So,
and they keep on dropping passes, and they make them too.
20 minutes, one practice. But yeah, so hey, the other thing I thought was interesting, I couldn't tell for sure, but I know Trey Owens shaved his mustache, and I think maybe Parker Livingston might have shaved his mustache too. So big scoop there, right?
I'm a big fan of shaving the mustaches.
Aerodynamics. Yeah, it's critical. That is critical. See, Catch, you get on me for looking at the roster and jersey numbers. Jason's noticing mustaches being gone.
Well, I'm taking pictures. I have to go through and edit all these pictures. I'm getting close looks of their face. the picture was pretty far away, but
Chad, he's also a Yankees fan.
That's true.
And they don't allow face, but now they do.
He's facially hair sensitive, is what you're saying. Yes.
Because he notices it. He's like, oh,
he does.
My baseball player's got 2 days of growth.
He needs to cut that hair. It's below his collar. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that sometimes people notice as well, this isn't me. This is Vivek that wants to know who looked physically impressive today. The old, off the bus team kind of a thing. Guys, anybody stand out in that regard? Either a transformation of somebody you've already seen, or and you guys, you talked a little bit about Washington already, but like a new guy maybe, and it's like, whoa, check him out. Any of that today?
I'm looking at my photos right now. I mean, I didn't walk away from practice saying, whoa, that dude blew me away. Like last year, those freshman running backs were like, whoa, those dudes, like their lower halves are put together. Josiah Sharma, big dude. What is he listed at?
365 or
holy shit. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, he's a big boy. He caught my eye in that regard. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Ricky Stewart, the running back, caught my eye because he was a little bit smaller than I remembered seeing him. Cade Phillips, I've seen him a ton. Cade, I thought, looked fantastic. He always looks like $1 million. True freshman quarterback, of course. So, but I tell you, I saw Colin Simmons off from a distance, and
you're forgetting one, Jason.
What's up?
You're forgetting one.
Who am I forgetting? Go ahead.
Michael Terry.
Yes, thank you, Michael Terry. And I've seen Mike in person, a few times, but I saw him today. I was like, damn, I forgot. And I put that in my notes. So yeah, thanks for reminding me. I was like, I've forgotten how big he is. I mean, he's not Colin Johnson big, but I mean, he kind of catches your eye in that same way. You're like, whoa, that guy almost looks out of place with some of these players around him.
And just a quick note on the numbers, the last two guys you mentioned, Cade Phillips and Michael Terry, both will wear 11. If somebody's wondering who Colin Simmons' number will
Jason,
go to.
You know who he looked like in the photos?
Cade Phillips.
Sorry, Chad. I just had to do my every 5-minute talk over you bit. Do you know who Michael Terry kind of reminded me of off the hoof in seeing your photo gallery?
I'm trying to find a picture of. No, go ahead.
Little John Childs-ish. Where
I don't think John was that tall.
John was 6'2", though, so he wasn't like short, but Terry's a little taller.
Mm-hmm.
But John, when you would see him, it was like, oh, okay, you're a big dude. And I think that was my initial reaction of Terry. It was like, oh, I forget how well put together you are as an 18-year-old kid coming out of high school. Jesus, what are you going to look like in 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Anwar, what about you? What is it? Who'd you think was handsome?
That's kind of funny. It's kind of, this is gonna sound like weird, maybe Captain Obvious, but maybe that you wouldn't necessarily say it. But man, Arch looks good. Like, Arch is a physically impressive person. Now, he's not Cam Newton kind of huge muscular guy, but you don't see real like body fat on him at all. He looks strong, put together. Like, if you want to take down Arch, you will definitely need to use some force with that body. Like, he won't be an easy out for anybody on a defensive side. So I thought he looked good. I was going through Jason's stuff here. I mean, you can see Cade Phillips looks well as well. He's not big, but he's definitely really muscular. And I can't say anybody else really, really, stood out where I looked at it and said, "Oh my God, like this guy here, how is dominating." Maybe a Ryan Wingo to a certain degree, but I think Ryan Wingo's always kind of been built, but maybe he looked a little bit stronger than he did. Man, he was catching some nice balls out there. I was like, that LASIK worked. Like, that was totally worth it for him.
He wasn't one of the one. Maybe they need to make sure these other guys don't need LASIK.
Exactly.
Hey, we have buried the lead if that's the case. That's all the fans need to know today, right?
Whoever the optometrist that he saw initially, if any other receivers saw that guy initially or woman initially, they need to be reevaluated and go and get a second opinion and go from there. But I thought Ryan Wingo looks good as well. May
I recommend Dr. Wynn in the Woodlands, fellas? Just saying.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They gotta be able to see the drive over there, Catch. I mean, if we got some vision problems, should they really be taking that 3-hour trip?
Yeah, all I know is that it's the first time I've ever finished a doctor's appointment that when it was over with, I called and thanked my wife.
Really?
Thank you for setting that appointment up. My goodness.
And then called me to tell me what they looked like. That did happen. That happened.
It did happen. But that was one day after my wife said I had a thing for Asian women, and then like a super sexy Asian woman was my optometrist. So, like, it was just
a whole nother deal.
Timing is everything.
I need to get my eyes checked for after all.
That's right.
Hey, I'll be down in the Woodlands for something pretty soon. I think there's a camp or something, so maybe I'll swing by.
You would not be disappointed. Let me ask you guys, and Jason, if I have to be honest, there's one thing from the photo gallery that disappointed me, and that was there were no photos of Justice Terry. Now, Alex told us that Terry wasn't always that he was off at times and not.
I didn't see him because they kind of had the defensive linemen split into multiple groups, and they're always like furthest ones away. And I took my defensive line photos like the first part of practice, and then I kind of worked my way down the rest of the field. So. Yeah, when I go out Thursday, I'll be a more conscious effort to. But I wasn't specifically looking for Justice Terry today. I probably should have been, honestly. But I don't remember seeing him. I think maybe he was pretty far away from me when I was down there.
On the official roster, they've got Zena Yamuzalo listed at 6'5", 259, if I have it correct in my head. And they've got Justice Terry listed at 6'5", 263. And it was like,
what did they have Lance Jackson listed at?
6'5", 258. So all of those guys essentially with this same-ish frame. And all of them look like guys that quite frankly, Colton Vasek needs to get back as fast as he can on the field because suddenly there's a plethora of guys. That doesn't even include Ethan Burke, who we know goes in as the starter, but Lance Jackson today working with the twos with no Colton Vasek there. It seems like Justice Terry physically fits a profile like that until he's able to maybe throw on some size, because I don't know that 263 is getting you on the field as a true freshman in the SEC at defensive tackle. Interesting, though, that just Anwar, when we did the Overreaction Monday show a couple days ago, we went through edge. It was really low on my list, and I wasn't really including even adding a guy like Justice Terry to that mix. But I think that might be the case early on, is that we might need to talk about him more as a Baron Sorrell-like type figure, somebody that fills that void more so than Vernon Broughton or Alfred Collins.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good, it's a good observation where he might have to rotate it to a couple of different roles just to, look, I was told previously that if Justice Terry hits, they feel really good about that line. Like a lot of it hinged on Justice. Like that was kind of like, if we got him, then we've got depth and we're good. If for some reason it doesn't hit, then it's a little bit more shaky, going forward, right? So you're right about that from a size perspective. We'll see, from March until August what Becton can do with him, and so there is some wiggle room to add in a little bit, but is he going to add in 30 pounds? Like,
I was going to say, where should what would make us happy in August?
What are you thinking, Mike?
280?
I was going to say,
I was just thinking, going to say 278. So 280 would probably be it. I think if he gets to 280, that's healthy over the next few months, doesn't lose any speed, and you can find a way to be effective from there.
Yeah.
You can't beat up what you can't catch, right? If you're an offensive lineman, you're putting him on the field when you think his skill set aligns itself. And I don't know, 263 made me think not playing right away at that spot, but it is exciting to think about him potentially playing some at that other spot where Baron Sorrell played. And suddenly it's like, holy crap, that could be, Ethan Burke needing to get back because, Colton Vasek, because you've got Ethan Burke, Lance Jackson, Justice Terry, and maybe Zena, because Zena's a big boy too. Like all of those guys, they're guys that you could get off the bus early with. I think all those guys look physically impressive. They're not monsters, but I think they all look good.
Yeah. I got a question for you guys in terms of the same position, as long as we're there on the defensive line. We'll get to those. If you guys have questions, throw in a super chat. It'll go right to the top. Over 900 of you in that Specs chat. Also, before I ask this question, let me just give a little love to Sinus and Snoring Specialist. You'll forgive me for having it on my mind today because I'm having a physical today. But you know what? I don't have to discuss sleep issues because I don't have them anymore. I got the snoring taken care of. I got the sleep apnea taken care of. So I sleep like a baby. We'll see if there's other stuff going on today. But if you're going through the sleep stuff, don't let it get worse. If you're like me and you're already up into your 50s, or maybe you're in your 60s, or maybe whatever, don't let it get worse. Get it taken care of. Sinuses, the allergy stuff you've been going through, and especially if you've got sleep apnea. If you know you've got sleep apnea and you've never done anything about it, this is the place that can do it for you. Sinus and Snoring Specialist, 601-0303. Securely call or text them on that number. SinusSnoringENT.com is the website. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. So, you can go to your next physical and make sure everything is cool. All right. So, Jason, I wanted to ask you and Anwar about what about the new guys on the defensive line? I saw Travis Shaw is going to be wearing 44 for fans that want to know. Canu's going to wear 93, and Brevard's going to have 99 on. Any of those three guys kind of stand out today just in terms of the, just kind of the first visuals? Obviously, those are guys are going to be important for D tackle depth.
I saw Brevard. I saw Canoe. I don't think I saw the other one. Brevard, they've got listed at 352. He is a big boy. I mean, he looks pretty well put together. But I mean, anything really stand out, Chad? No, I didn't. I mean, honestly, they weren't in my notes. I didn't walk away thinking, "Oh my gosh, that guy looked amazing." I didn't think, "Oh, that guy looks like." There was a transfer they took a couple years ago, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I walked down. I was like, "That guy's really small." And I don't remember who it was, but I mean, these guys all look the part. They look like they're capable of contributing, but today they're out there in shorts and no pads, and we're just seeing them do a lot of hand placement drills and those kinds of things. I mean, they've definitely got the size to hold up in SEC play. We'll kind of wait to see later in the spring what we're hearing about how they're performing in scrimmages and full pad practices and things. But I didn't walk away with any just dramatic positive or negative feelings towards those guys.
Anwar, how about you?
Same.
Okay.
Those guys were hitting the sled way down on the other end, opposite end of the field. So they were over 100 yards away hitting a sled. So it was hard to get any real impressions off of those people.
Hey, Catch, real quick. You remember we ran last Thursday? We ran the Truth and Lies column. I don't remember, 1:00 or something, right? And then I got a phone call and I stepped out. Remember this?
Yes.
And one of the comments to me, and now I'm like, oh, great, I just got scooped because Spring Ball was like, Justice Terry needs to grow. Do you remember I came in, I said, okay, here's what I heard about this guy and this guy and this guy. And one of them was Justice Terry is just young. He needs to grow. I mean, physically, just mentally, everything. And then we go out there today, and I don't remember, what was he, 263, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, it'll still be in our Truth and Lies later this week, but just kind of confirmation of something we kind of heard last week. But he's he's a 5-star prospect for a reason. But yeah, he's 263. Like you said, I don't know that. I think everybody kind of came in thinking, okay, he's going to be an instant contributor. Well, unless he can kind of fill out a little bit between now and fall camp, that might be tough. We'll see.
By the way, guys, this just popped in. I just asked about another guy. Somebody says, Michael Terry, bigger than I thought after seeing a video. I see why tight end H-back was being talked about. That's from Corey. Michael Terry taking the 11 from
but Michael Terry's always been big, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not brand new. Like, he was huge in high school.
Right. I guess the question, you guys saw that today. It's like that nothing shocked you about what you saw in terms of Terry's size.
A little bit. Like, I remember seeing him on more and talking to him. I've interviewed him, and like, he's tall, but he was really lean. I mean, he's not like he's huge right now at all, but I don't know. Today I was like, damn, maybe just because it'd been a while since I'd seen him, but I was like,
it's been a while. That dude was huge.
Yeah, because I was like, I've forgotten how big Michael Terry is. So maybe it's just because I hadn't seen him in several months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it is something to see when there is something to be said when you see these guys not in uniforms for the first time in a while, and you really see their size and not, I saw the pictures, and my first thought was a guy like John Childs, who was a big, like, developed kid when he got here, and a tremendous athlete, and a guy that obviously had a unique Texas career because he goes back and forth between quarterback and wide receiver. But he's I think the point of why whoever it was in the chat that said you can see why people had talked about him as a potential H-back type of guy. That's exactly why that comes up, because he looks like a bit of a tweener between the two, quite frankly.
They won't, but they're not going to go in that direction as relates to him. Michael Terry's let them know that he wants to be a receiver, and that's it. And no one's willing to force that issue upon him. So that'd have to be one of those things that he would have to come into someone's office and say, this is what I want to do. But outside of that, Michael Terry's made it very clear to the staff he sees himself as of right now as a receiver, and he's just going to have to be a big, huge monster of a receiver, and that's kind of the way he's planning to work.
I was just looking back clicking through my pictures. I mean, he is definitely more filled out than Jamie French and Cleek Lockett. Probably a hair taller, but even a little bulkier, if you will. I don't know if he just added some mass maybe in the offseason, but he looks good.
By the way, we got a super chat in. We know there's no quarterback controversy. How about a backup quarterback controversy? Sailor Joe, $2. Who's more than likely QB2, KJ or Trey? This is something you can figure out in one little practice window, right?
Trey, it's nothing to figure out. It's Trey. He's the backup quarterback. KJ's the third. You're not gonna make a freshman be the backup quarterback and then have Trey Owens just go into the transfer portal at some point this year. So it's Trey Owens.
And Trey, listen, very limited opportunities, but he's played well. Like it's not like he's gone out there and stunk it up where you're looking to replace him. So yeah, I'm with Onwar. I think that's Trey Owens, and I don't think there's much competition there at all right now.
There you go. Thank you, Sailor Joe, for the $2 super chat. We do appreciate it.
All right, let me just give you my other observations to make it the conversation easier.
Okay.
The other things that I noticed, I thought Trey Moore from a linebacker position it looked natural to me when he was going there and working out with that position group. It was almost like, okay, I see you with the Anthony Hills of the world, and not as built, obviously, or stout as Anthony Hill is, but he looked natural when I saw him go through his drills. And one of the reasons that they've moved him over is one, for they believe he'll be effective at that position, and two, they believe that that's eventually what he would play in the NFL anyway. So when I get a chance to lay some eyes on Moore, I did like what I saw from him. One of the other things I had pointed out, punting situation. I don't know much, Jason, you paid attention to that.
No, I didn't, but I saw your note. And,
yeah, when Jack was in there, I'm sorry, it was like, oh, snap, this is what a good, effective punting looks like. It was good hang time, a good distance. I said to myself, okay, Texas should be back on the plus area as far as that punting thing is concerned. So I did like that. And the other two nuggets that I did have is that you may not know as punters, but Jason, you probably did notice that there were analysts everywhere.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Everywhere.
I don't know these faces. I don't know the names with the faces yet, but yeah, you're right. Like, I feel like there was like one coach for every 3 players out there.
It was crazy. It was the most insane thing. What Sark has definitely taken advantage of putting analysts on the field because they were everywhere you turn around. I saw a new face coaching someone, and I was like, I don't know who the hell this guy is. I did not always see the position coaches because they were all spread out throughout the fields. So like I said, I don't know who the hell these people were, but they were damn near everywhere that I can turn around and see. And the last thing, as Ketch is smiling, and the last thing, I think Jason would agree to this, and that was one of my last notes. As minuscule as this sounds, I heard no loud music through practice at all. And usually the music is blasting.
I didn't notice that when I read your note, and I was like, he's right. I didn't hear a peep of it when I was out there, but I didn't recognize it at the time.
Usually blasted. And so it made me think when Sark talked about, hey, this offseason is got to be kind of about growth and development and teaching. I felt like, okay, there was like we're not playing around. No one needs to be dancing or do anything cute. Let's just get down the ball. And I felt like they were really focused on ball today.
I wonder if they had it going during warm-ups and stretching. I mean, we weren't there for that, but yeah, you're right. It was very business-like today. And I didn't hear much. I saw Sark, but I didn't hear a whole lot from Sark. Usually I can hear his voice in my ears, yelling and correcting or something, but I didn't hear much from Sark.
I only heard him twice. When they were about to do some deep routes. There were some players who were kind of lingering in the end zone. And so he screamed at them to get the blank out of there. So I heard him that, and there was another one on one of the routes that someone ran he didn't like, and so that was it. But it wasn't the typical barking though. It was definitely tamed.
Interesting. Jason, any more reactions from you from today's first day?
No, man, just good to see some football and good weather. Like a dumbass, I wore a hoodie and it ended up being super warm out there. But
like a dumbass.
Well, when I left, it takes me an hour to get there from Leander, dude. So when I left my house, it was pretty cool. By the time I got to the practice field, I'm like, oh man,
But you're protected from the sun. That's all.
That's right. That's what someone else
But
does.
the coaches wear hoodies, so a lot of assistants wear them. So you can
it's a smart choice to do it. It's 110 degrees in August. He'd have a hoodie. I don't know how.
You know what you should do, Jason? There's so many analysts out there. You should put on a UT hoodie and just walk out on the field. I don't think anyone would know that you actually don't work for the staff.
Just go there with my camera and a little microphone. Yeah.
Jason Superbell of Orange Bloods called 4 plays today at practice.
Hey guys, we want to wrap up the show before 1 o'clock. So I have one last question. I wanted to read the news story of the hour, and I just wanted a instant reaction to the headline. Okay. Stanford fired head football coach Troy Taylor. Oh, by the way, their roster now is completely wide open for the portal, right? Those kids don't have to wait
30 days.
Just throwing that out there. Stanford head coach Troy Taylor has been fired. General manager Andrew Luck made the decision.
Wow. I know what that made you think of.
Well,
I know what you thought of.
no, I just
wait. There's another part of this. Stanford GM Andrew Luck fires coach Troy Taylor following bullying investigations.
Yes.
No, there's a lot going on there, but Andrew Luck is being cited as the guy who made the decision, not the athletic director, not the school president. Yeah. They're on the front foot saying Andrew Luck has made the decision.
What's his title there?
He's the general manager of the football program.
GM.
Yeah. Now the question might be, would they have announced it that specifically if their GM wasn't Andrew Luck? If it wasn't as big a name, but it is certainly noteworthy that, like you said, Catch, that you're stating it that way. Your AD's not saying I did it. Your president or your university doesn't say it. You're telling everybody your GM.
It's being discussed as the first college football head coach firing made by the general manager of a program.
Well, now hold on. I'm reading this part here. It says athletic director Bernard Muir, who stepped down earlier this month, was Taylor's direct supervisor at the time. So Stanford may not have an AD.
So what you're telling me is Sark better not piss off Brandon Harris.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like if this is true, Stanford doesn't have an AD at this moment, and so that's why that's
regardless. No matter how much you want to push back on this, it is the first time we've seen a general manager be in a position. We've talked about this with Oklahoma, that I'm of the opinion that Jim Nagy is the first post Brent Venables hire that really is about what happens after Brent Venables fails this season. I think one of the things we'll see is that different programs are going to deal with the authority of a general manager different than others. I think
they don't have an AD. Who else is going to fire them?
Right. I guess the question would be then, Anwar, if in a different world, if something came up with Sark and he needed to be fired and CDC wasn't there and Texas was in transition at AD, would the announcement be that Brandon Harris had fired Sark?
No. It'd be like LT for the
it's a different dynamic. LT runs runs.
Yeah, I promise you. I don't promise you, but I would assume that Andrew Luck didn't make the decision. He probably got marching orders from the president or somebody. Somebody.
That's not quite how even Andrew Luck's statement on the firing is worded. It is worded as if I made the call.
Maybe he's going to be there in AD. Maybe he's an AD in.
No, that could be it. His family knows a little bit about this.
Guys, he's the general manager of the football program. And what
he don't have an AD right now.
I've been saying for the last half decade on shows that we've been doing that this is the direction that
they don't have an athletic director, Catch.
Is Catch not hearing that? They don't have an AD.
They do not have an athletic director.
I'm telling you.
They do not have
an athletic director. This is a very unique situation.
Watch
what happens to use another point to use to
Jim Nagy is going to be the number one guy in the football department.
Your point. That is, it's apples and oranges.
Brandon Harris isn't firing Steve Sarkisian. But Andrew Luck fired.
Andrew Luck wouldn't be firing their coach if they had an athletic director. I don't
know that we know that.
Just,
I mean, I don't know that we know that for sure. I know what we know just happened is
I
that
think I would
Andrew
bet
Luck-
money on it.
Maybe.
I would bet money that the athletic director would have made that announcement if
I
they
think it
had
sure
it.
feels like Stanford is going out of its way in saying Andrew Luck is our guy in football. He's
Andrew
the most
Luck is a
important
Stanford
person.
legend, by the way. He's not some random dude either.
Oh,
He
Should have got
no
John
doubt.
Elway to do it.
He's a Stanford legend.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
And that's why. Yeah, before you mentioned the AD thing, that's why I brought up kind of the name recognition part. But obviously, all of it together does make it specifically unique. There's probably no other school in America today that would have those two things at the same time.
Their
In the
their
future, do we
athletic
think
director resigned after 13 years. They have a major bullying scandal that's going to hit that program. It's a lot of different things going
Do
on.
we think the next head coach will rank above Andrew Luck in the football hierarchy?
Well, the next head coach is going to be somebody. I mean, who are you going to get at this point? Of course, the GM's going to rank because you're not going to get anybody who's worth a shit at this moment.
Okay, well, even that is a dynamic in college football that is
It's
not
March.
previously-
You can't go out and hire Nick. Yeah, unless you're going to hire Nick Saban. There's no one left. Anyone you hire is either going to be a retread or an offensive coordinator that gets promoted. That person won't. Of course, that person's not going to have a lot of juice.
Yeah. And just for the record, one of our chatters did slide in the question that a lot of Texas fans are probably thinking of after reading that story. When Venables is let go after next season, will it be Nagy's call?
I think it will be he'll have a big say in it.
Yeah, he may.
Well, Venables going 7-6 or 6-7 will be the ultimate thing. I think if the writing would be on the wall, whoever the press release is from.
Yeah, that's probably true as well. Catch, anything else from for the fellas?
No, I have nothing else.
All right, gentlemen, we appreciate the time and go, rest and relax.
I'm going to watch a women's basketball commitment here in about 3 minutes.
Yes.
We don't think it's going to
to be
Texas.
watching that for very long.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't think it's going to be good news for Texas, but I'm going to keep an eye on it anyway. So.
Yeah, somebody asked earlier about is it going to be Texas? We think that's Oklahoma, correct, for Aaliyah Chavez?
Yeah, that seems to be the buzz today for sure. Yep.
Gotcha. All right. There's Anwar and Jason. We appreciate those guys and their hard work. They were down at the 40 today for the first official day of spring practice. We appreciate you jumping in today. I appreciate the boss working today because normally he's been taking Tuesdays off to do work stuff and he didn't do that today. So I do appreciate that. All right, Catch, before
it's always interesting to hear someone say he took the day off so that he could do work stuff.
Well, yes. Normally you take the day off to do different.
It's not taking the day off. That's the thing. It's not taking the day off.
That's fair. That's fair. You normally you take the day away from this show.
I have to do grown-up stuff at some point during the week.
To work, yes, exactly. To work and keep orange bloods rolling and all that good stuff. And we definitely appreciate that. But I also appreciate you.
Jeff usually takes Tuesdays off so that he can work.
That does sound weird. Yeah, that does sound weird. That was not phrased perfectly.
Because then if I'm ever say like I need a day off, people are going to say, "What are you talking about? You take every Tuesday off."
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. I did not say it correctly. Normally Catch works even harder on Tuesdays.
Thank you.
Today he's working, I guess, a little less and hanging with us.
Because like today I'm working less. Well, usually on Tuesdays we have our staff meetings and then I have managerial meet. There's like a lot of things going on.
Yeah. And
today we canceled all those things because first day of practice and we've done multiple shows now. And yeah, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Right. Nah,
I think a show, but like all my grown-up stuff just dissolved.
Yeah. Before we head towards a wrap up here, can you tell the folks about Rogue Shop? Because I know they get you through every day, including Tuesday.
Well, get me through 1 p.m. here in a second. Rogueshop.com. Just use that QR code. It is Texas's home for legal CBD, THC, and so much more. I always say, man, go to the website, just scan the QR code, go there, and just check it out. It's a good laugh if you're not into it at nothing else. If you're into the products, you'll find stuff for pain and anxiety and sleeplessness and just feeling good and chilling out. And there's pick-me-ups. There's all kinds of things, pet products. Scan the QR code. They're longtime sponsors of orangebloods.com and Orange Bloods Live. We love them dearly. Love them dearly back. Chad, that's love them dearly back. That's the new slogan.
Love them dearly. That's
back.
Perfect.
They love you. Love them dearly back.
Yeah, love them dearly back. All right. Since it was a weird day for you, did you put buy or sells together? Are we doing that, or are we not worried about that?
Let's go. They're about to do the Chavez thing. So either we're gonna stay and do the Chavez thing, or we're gonna wrap up and then go watch the Chavez thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. There's a couple more bills that need to be paid, and then we can get out. Do you want to go ahead and roll to the Chavez thing, like we did yesterday?
Well, I'll stay at least through one bill.
Stay at least through a bill. Okay. Let's stay through this one because I know it's one that's close to your heart. Hijackpoker.com. Shout out to Texas Card House for sponsoring House Divided each and every day. Hijackpoker.com. Get that app. Put it on any device you want. You can deposit and cash out at one of their 6 locations. You can deposit money, all kinds of other easy ways. Check them out. You might end up playing Jeff Ketchum in a game of online poker. That's for those of you just in the state of Texas. Remember that. You got to be in the state of Texas.
I just wasted $10, Chad.
You really?
There's a $10 noon tournament, and I just signed out. As soon as you said hijack, I was like, damn it, I forgot to sign up for the noon.
Oh, no.
And now it's 1 o'clock, and I've jumped in.
It's all over.
But the blinds are already they're on break. I missed the entirety of the first round of action before the first break. I'm coming in. The blinds I got to get aggressive. I won't be able to. I can't be patient in this particular tournament. But I'm in. Somebody come. Y'all join me. I'm at Hijack right now.
There you go. Go check it out. We got the Aaliyah Chavez announcement that's coming up here. Probably not going Texas's way here in this 1 o'clock hour. Before we get out of here, I'll tell you one thing that can go your way, and that is Taste on Main. You've heard me talk about it. This is the place in downtown Buda from the same folks that bring you Hayes City Store. It's a steakhouse, good, comfy steakhouse. No stuffy dress codes, none of that vibe. My kind of steakhouse where the food and the drink take center stage and nothing else really matters. The food, the drink, the great atmosphere, that's what they're all about. Go check them out in downtown Buda, Taste on Main. And I do recommend the steak Oscar style. Go ask them about that. It is absolutely tasty. All right. I think that'll do us for today. Thank y'all for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. Over 1,100 of you in that specs chat as we close up on a busy day. First day of spring practice for Texas. Pro day is getting started right now. Alex Dunlap's covering it. Right down here, that QR code, you see it? Join OB here. That's the easiest way to join orangebloods.com that's ever been thought up. Just click on the QR code and get in there for all that content. Spring practice, pro day, the Shawn Miller press conference was today. We hit that as well. Y'all have a good rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow for a Wednesday show at noon. Take care. It's Orange Bloods Live. See you.